Hey there, guys. Welcome back to Realms. My name is Mosey, and this is another installment of the Appalachian Trail Ridgerunner series. Today, we are going to be talking about everything that is in my pack. So it's going to be a little different than what I typically carry on a thru hike, and I've actually made quite a few gear changes for those of you who are familiar with the channel and know the gear that I carry. I've switched a few things out just because it made more sense in this setting. So we're going to get started. First off, for those of you, once again, who are familiar, I always carried the REI Flash 55. Love that pack, still have that pack, but I did decide to make a switch to the Durston Kakwa 55, and I've really been enjoying it, and it's worked really well for all that I have to carry as a ridge runner. So we're going to get started with what is on the outside of the pack and what's in the pockets. So I've got my water bottle pocket here. I've got my phone pouch. I was issued this as a ridge runner to carry, just because sometimes when you're wearing your rain gear, you can't see like the patches on the shirt. And so this way people always know who you are. And then I've got my handy dandy sweat and snot rag. So that is that. My right hip belt pocket has all of my snacks in it for the day, so that is what's in there. And then we're gonna switch over to the left hip belt pocket. So on this zipper, I have a carabiner. It has my pea style, my Kula cloth, hand sanitizer. It's got my multi-tool and then a tick key on it. And so that stays right there. And then in this pouch, we're going to go ahead. We're actually packing for my patrol right now. So we're going to load everything up. I've got picaridin bug lotion because if there are bugs, they will find me and they will bite me. Got Aquaphor for chafing. Cortisone cream because the bugs still get me. I've got a few junior ridge runner badges. So if someone helps me out, picks up trash, carries trash out for me, just really showing good leave no trace principles, or maybe I'm teaching some kids about leave no trace, then I can deputize them and give them a junior ridge runner button. So we've got a few of those in here. And then I've got my headlamp, and so that stays in there as well. So let's shove that in there. Zip it up. All right. On this side pocket, I've got this zipper pouch here, and my filter lives in there. So I have the Catadine Be Free in that pocket. I've got an extra water bottle. I've got a sit pad, and then I have my tent poles. So for those of you who know the gear that I typically carry, I usually carry the Durston X Mid 1. I love that tent. I carried it my entire AT through hike, but the tent pads here in Shenandoah are rocky and small, and it's not always easy to get that tent pitched. I can do it, but I just didn't want to fight with it every single night, so I went ahead and switched to a freestanding tent. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. On my other side pocket over here, I've got a little Ziploc that has paper maps in it. As a ridge runner, you are asked to carry paper maps because sometimes you are going to have to help give someone directions, and maybe it's not on far out, maybe it's not on the AT that you're helping them get to, but also sometimes just showing people on a paper map is a little bit easier for them to understand than looking at a phone. I also have soap notes in case I have to help anyone with a medical emergency and I need to take down their medical history and their vitals, and so I can write that down there. And usually I have keys in here, but I'm not going to anywhere that I need keys this week. So I've got that in there. I have my saw. So this is one thing that is unique to a ridge runner pack. This is actually a pretty small one. The other ridge runners mostly have bigger ones, and I'm a little salty because I can't do as much with this. But I do take out small blowdowns that are encroaching upon the trail. And so I use this a good bit to do that. Bigger blowdowns I report so someone else can come and take care of them, but I do have this saw. And then I have my Park Service radio because I am in the national park. I am issued a radio. I call in to dispatch every morning when I start hiking, every evening when I stop hiking, and then if there's any issues that I need to call in, I have this. And so this is my brick of a radio. All right. So now we're going to switch to our front mesh pocket. So we're going to pack this one together. So in here, let's see, I have my poop kit. So I've got my trowel, wipes, and a trash bag in there. Then I have my work gloves. So another thing Ridgerunners do, we dismantle fire rings, but I'm also, tossing logs out of the trail and things like that. And so sometimes I just want some work gloves to keep my hands protected and clean while I'm doing some of that dirty work. So I've got my work gloves in there. Then I've got my rain jacket. This is the same one I carried on my AT thru hike. It's the Outdoor Research Helium. Shove that in there. And then I've got my camp sandals. I can't live without my camp sandals. So these are Teva's. Yeah, so I've got those. And I'll shove them in there. All right, now for the inside of the pack. This bit is going to be a little bit noisier. Sorry about that. So I've got my pack liner, just a compactor bag in here. The Durston the fabric is waterproof. It does not come seam sealed. I have since seam sealed it, and it does a pretty good job now of keeping most of the water out, but we have had some torrential downpours this summer, and so sometimes a little water does get in. I just always keep my stuff that I need to keep dry in a pack liner. Better safe than sorry. All right, so what goes inside the pack liner? I've got an extra pair of socks. So I've got some John Tufts in there. I've got my little REI camp towel here, just in case I need to dry anything off. Let's see, I've got my summer sleep clothes. So I've just got a tank top and some biker shorts here. This is my pillow, which is just my layers. So I've got my Senshi 60 mid layer right here, and then I've got a Enlightened Equipment Torrid jacket. I have not worn either of my layers since probably May, so we just leave it in pillow form, but we still carry it because this is our pillow. All right, on top of the pillow, I put my battery bank. When I thru hiked, I had a ditty bag that had all of my first aid and repair and electronics in it. I'm not really carrying that anymore because I don't need all of the electronics that I was carrying. I don't need a wall plug because I'm coming back to my cabin every week. So I really just have my battery bank, and so that just goes in the waterproof pack liner on top of the pillow. And then I have my quilt. So this is my Enlightened Equipment quilt. I only have a 20-degree bag. So while this is way too hot for the temperature right now, this is what I have. So this is what I carry. So pack that. All right, and then on top of my quilt, I have my sleeping pad. I switched from the old Nemo to the new one. To be honest, I really liked the old one better, but it was so moldy, and the smell was just unbearable after my Peyote thru hike, so I got a new one. So in here, I have my sleeping pad. I also have my pad straps for the quilt in case I decide to strap it down to the pad, and then I have my flex tail pump in here as well. So I'm gonna pack that. All right, so now I have my pack liner all pressed down and sealed so water won't get in, and then we'll pack what goes on top of that. So next I have my first aid kit. As a Ridgerunner, I am wilderness first aid trained, so if I see anyone having any sort of injury or emergency, I do have what is necessary to help them. So I have lots of medications, bandages, gauze, everything in there. I have an emergency blanket in here. I also have my personal repair kit. So, duct tape, a needle, just anything I might need to repair. I switched out the medical tape for leukotape, but otherwise, yeah, that is my first aid kit, which is much heftier than what I carried as a thru hiker for sure, but it does come in handy. So there is that. On top of that goes my food bag. Now, if you watch my channel, you know I carried a bear can my entire AT thru hike. I love bear cans. I think they're an awesome thing. They're just a much better guarantee than hanging your food. The reason I am carrying a food bag instead of a bear can as a Ridgerunner is because here in Shenandoah National Park, I hike hut to hut as a Ridgerunner. All of the huts have food storage. There are 9 huts along the AT here in the park. 8 of those have bear boxes. One of them has only a bear pole, but either way, I have a way to keep my food safe. I do have my bear line and my rucksack in here in case I do need to PCT hang it. In case of emergency, if I have to stop short of a hut. I have not had that happen, but so I am prepared to do that if I have to, but that is the only reason that I am carrying a food bag instead of my bear can. I also have my pot in here with my stove and all of that. So there is my food for patrol. All right, so that is everything that I normally put inside my pack. If it's going to be raining really hard, I'll put my tent inside as well, but I'm someone that typically likes to have my tent strapped to the top. So it is in my X-Mid 1 stuff sack because I just like this shape of stuff sack better, but I am currently carrying the Big Agnes Copper Spur UL1 as my tent. Like I said, the tent pads here just aren't really optimal for the X-Mid 1. It works, but it's just a struggle, and I wanted to simplify my life. So I got the Copper Spur, and I've got the ground sheet in here as well. So I just press that on top and then strap it down. All right, so there is my pack. One reason I decided to switch to the Durston was because as a Ridgerunner, I really wanted to carry a fanny pack to have some of my very specific Ridgerunner things quick at hand. And so I didn't really feel like a fanny pack fit well with the REI Flash, just because the hip belt is so bulky and comes so far forward. And so I wanted something that just gave me a little bit more room. Also, this pack is a bit lighter and more waterproof than the REI Flash 55. So that's part of why I switched. So that being said, let's talk about what goes in my fanny pack, because this is very Ridgerunner specific. So we've talked about a few Ridgerunner items. We've got the first aid kit, we've got the radio and the saw. But next, let's talk about this. So I have the Light AF fanny pack here. On the outside pocket, I keep a Ziploc bag in case it starts raining to put my phone in it, just to keep it protected. I am not a glasses wearer, but we have a ton of gnats in Shenandoah, and they love to fly in your eye. Actually, during my thru hike, I bought sunglasses at one of the waysides here to keep the gnats out of my eyes, but it's a little too dark in the green tunnel for sunglasses. So I purchased blue light glasses, and I wear these on trail to keep the bugs out of my eyes. So I'm not a big bug head net person, and they mainly just bother my eyes anyway. So as long as I have those guarded, I'm usually pretty good. So inside the fanny pack, I have my Dr. Bronner soap so I can wash my hands. I've got some flagging tape, which is very wet and gross right now, but in case I need to flag anything, maybe, wear a, I haven't really seen many snakes this season, but if I needed to flag where a nest was, or like a beehive or something, just to kind of let people know where stuff is at that might be dangerous. I also have a bag with some nitrile gloves. So part of my job, I do service the privies, so do need to wear PPE for that. Most of the privies have gloves in the job box. However, as we're getting towards the end of the season, we're running low, and sometimes I come into situations on trail, not by a privy, where I'm having to deal with something that I need some PPE. So I keep gloves on me in case of that. I also have a bag with all of my trash bags in it. So a big part of being a Ridgerunner is packing out trash. And so I have 3 kitchen garbage bags in here, which I will also use to help distribute and fan out ash from a fire ring if I am dismantling that. I've got a couple grocery bags and I've got extra Ziplocs. And so this goes in my pack, in my fanny pack. All right, so there is that. And then the last thing that goes in my pack are my clippers. These are incredibly important. I'm using them constantly. I use them to pick up trash so I don't have to touch questionable things, but I also use them to clip back branches. The PATC, the trail is supposed to have a 4-foot by 8-foot wide girth, and so any branches or vines or anything that is starting to encroach upon the trail, I do clip those back. So with that, these are always in my hand. I am always using them. And I realized pretty quickly that I can't carry 2 trekking poles as a Ridgerunner because I'm just carrying them the whole time. I'm not really using them. So I switched to just 1 trekking pole. So I have a pole in one hand and my clippers in another. And I actually attached a Ziploc bag with a carabiner to the handle of my trekking pole to act as a trash bag. And so while I'm hiking along, I can pick trash up with my clippers and just put it in the bag in my trekking pole. So that is also why I decided to switch to a freestanding tent, is because my old tent took 2 trekking poles and I'm not carrying 2 trekking poles anymore. All right, so put those clippers in the fanny pack, zip it up as best as it'll go, and that is everything that I carry as an Appalachian Trail Ridgerunner. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.